Hey, say what? Say who?
Well, you know how to you got DJ skills.
Hey, yo, Sam, if you wanna spit to this, go ahead, brother.
I have no freestyling skills.
Everybody wanna rap to the intro. It's a pretty hot intro too. Welcome Facebook. Everybody come on in and have a seat. You are rocking with two of the best.
Hey, so how does this thing view on Facebook? Does it view just like this?
I have it on multiple cameras, so whenever you talk, it'll show. Everybody, boys, women, children, men and women, and all you Homo sapiens and aliens and everybody else. Welcome to the Audacity podcast show. I want to take the time to introduce my guy that I have on the other end right now. His government name is Samuel Glickman, but everybody that knows him as Sam. Sam is the owner of Bravado Barbershop. He's a barber to the stars. He got some celebrities up under his wing, and he's one of my favorite game givers. He is a wealth of information, and we're going to try to pull some of that out of him today. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love right now for my barber, Mr. Sam Glickman.
I love it, man. You might be born for this.
What's up, Sam, man? So the first thing, I took a long nap today because I wanted to make sure that I was focused on this interview. I see that they just opened up Georgia for this Friday.
Yeah. It's always been profit over people, man. Mm-hmm. Always been profit over people. Always money over humans, man. That's how this country was started. So yeah. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Plus our governor is a lapdog for Donald Trump. So anything that can allow Donald Trump to gain some momentum right now, because all he has is a strong economy to run with. Mm-hmm. And with the economy not being so strong, he really doesn't have a leverage into getting reelected. So, as many governors that he can get on board with reopening, back up the economy, the better it is for him. Unfortunately, I think even though the state of Georgia is opening back up, I think the people aren't going to be as quick to patronize businesses the way they think. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So, when I remember the recession that we went through a few years back, and going through the recession, that enabled me to think more towards the future, and as far as contingency plans in the instant that might happen again. So my spending habits changed, my actual thought process about finance changed, and I knew that it was imperative that I start learning more and more as much as I could about business. And although I'm not quite where I want to be, I'm nowhere where I used to be. And I know I don't think I've been a client of yours for over a year now yet, but just having you as a barber, man, you've been able to give me some business nuggets that I've been able to apply to everything that I got going on. And so, based off of the recession that we went through, now going through this, do you think that because there's no way anybody could have planned for this that didn't have the information that they might have in the government sector. Although there's many scholars on both ends that have predicted similar things, and this stuff is going to come. And they said for various reasons why it would do that, primarily for deepening their control over the people using all these other types of factors. But what I want to ask you is, just because I think we've been locked in or quarantined in for like a month or so, what are some things that you would foresee putting into play for future events of this magnitude?
Right.
Or is there anything that you could do different?
Yeah, so I can only speak in reference to my business.
Okay.
And the way I handle my clients. and then some of my peers. Of course, I'm over the Georgia Barbers Network, so I have quite a few peers in the business. As a matter of fact, we got a group thread, you know, with about 15 shop owners, where we've all been communicating over the last 30 days and just really trying to school each other on some of the ways that, you know, it's really about exposure, right? Some of the ways that I do things is different from some of the ways that they do things. However, we're able to put it out there as owners through our network, man, to kind of get a real idea of how to move. Even right now, we're discussing reopening strategies. You know, there are some things that I've been doing over the last, 4 weeks where I've been practicing certain risk management tactics that I can do just to serve my clients better, right? For instance, even on the psychological side, I painted my entire shop white. I did that because people associate white with being clean. You know, those white walls, it just has a real clean appearance. You know, it doesn't give off a messy look. You know, and I hope people don't think too deep into that, man. I'm not talking about white as in white people. I'm talking about white walls here.
You ain't talking about white is right.
I'm definitely not saying white is right. I'm saying white gives off the image psychologically of cleanliness, which is why we wear white smocks as doctors and why we used to wear white smocks as barbers. And what I think is about to happen is I think we're about to go back to the way we used to start as tonsorial artists. From a sanitary standpoint. The thing that I've learned going through this, and not that I didn't wash my hands before, not that I didn't have good hygienic practices before, but what has happened here recently is I put more emphasis and energy towards paying attention to cross-contamination. Didn't realize how much I can cross-contaminate within one little space, moving from tool to tool, from cape to comb, from comb to brush to duster, you know, to taking the cape off, to putting the cape on, to touching my chair and spinning it and pumping it up and all of these different things. I just didn't realize how much cross-contamination takes place within one space, you know, and we're just talking about within 8 feet of space. And so I say that to say this: I can control my environment by way of a routine now. I don't think that routine is going to let up. That routine is going to be part of my working practice. You know, there are certain tools, there are certain equipment, there are certain items that I'm going to have to purchase now. It's a part of who I am, which means that, you know, I can't do business the same way I've done business before as well, because my expenses are going up. So if my expenses are going up, you already know what's coming next. You know, the prices of my services are eventually going to go up. You know, it's just automatic. But from a sanitary standpoint, I never really got scared when it came down to a common flu. You know, we hear about a bad flu coming in the area and a virus. We hear about this stuff all the time, but we never feared those things the way we feared this coronavirus. And I have some blame on the media for that, because they really, really put a lot of energy towards, you know, cases versus deaths, which we still haven't even reached the percentage of how many deaths, you know, the average flu has every year, you know. But I think just the time frame and how many deaths there was in such a short time frame and all that, it was big news and big media, and right now it has us afraid. I just think that it was good for us, you know, because it's got me thinking, again, totally different now, which is something I can appreciate, because I probably never do business the same way I've done business before. I got a whole new approach for it, you know. Yeah, so I don't know if it's so much what I would do different. It's just what am I going to do from here on, you know, because I've been successful up to this point. And this is the thing, is what we're talking about has nothing to do with success. Right. This has everything to do with how do we grow from this, right? How do we build? I definitely can't do business the way I did it before. That's a fact. Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give barbers that might not have the resources and the know-how and the experience that you have up until this point? Because, you know, there's a lot of barbers that that weren't, and I'm saying weren't because they're supposed to open up Georgia Friday, so I don't
Right.
know how that's gonna work. But there's barbers that couldn't really make moves during this time because they didn't have like a safe space or a place that they could control the environment in order to keep some type
Right.
of stream of income coming in. What would be some advice that you would give an up and coming barber to sort, and you can never know exactly what to do in situations like this, but you
Right.
should be certain, you should have a certain level of awareness that anything can happen, and so that you should start putting your things aside, whatever that is, to sort of have you
Yeah.
prepared for as best as possible for something like this.
Yeah. Well, that's a couple of questions in one, but I would say this. For barbers that are just getting started, this is a great opportunity for you. I think the other thing that has transpired through this pandemic is that I think a lot of people are the same way. I'm self-aware about my environment and the cleanliness of my environment, my tools. There are a lot of barbers that have been overexposed on being unsanitary. And I think now through this pandemic, a lot of their clients are paying attention to what they used to patronize. And they're going to be looking for something a lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is people have been living on social media over the course of the last 4 to 5 weeks. And so people that have never been on social media are on social media now. I've gotten more new follows than a little bit. Matter of fact, I looked on my screen over the course of the last week and a half, I probably gained over 2,000 followers.
Oh man,
You know, yeah, literally.
talk that talk, Sam.
Yeah,
Talk it.
yeah. And so that's, yeah, literally, man. I looked on it today. I hadn't even really been paying attention. I knew I was getting a lot of followers, but over 2,000, man. And it's just because the energy is on social media right now,
Right.
and then the more we go live with people, the more people tag us. In my case, they tag me a lot. Barbers are in a place, man, where they can really capitalize on consumers that are looking for the right barber. Forget about followers, forget about likes. They should really focus on great content right now. Great content. You can hand somebody a business card. The first question they're going to ask you is, do you have an Instagram? They want to see your work. They want to see your imagery, right? And so this is an opportunity for barbers to really capitalize on imagery, on really building a brand, on really capitalizing on the good work that they do, and marketing themselves, man. Customer service is a big deal. We should be taking advantage of all these classes that are free out here. Been free class after free class. Have been free seminars and webinars. This is the time really to structure yourself, man. I'm probably not going to open my shop up for another couple of weeks. And so even I have a new barber that's going to be starting in my shop. This is an opportunity for him to really hit the ground running, hit the ground running. Barbers that weren't structured prior to this, that really took a hit, it is what it is. Some people fall off the bandwagon. It just is what it is, man. But you can't be afraid to start over, right?
Right.
I think starting over is probably one of the most powerful things someone can do. You're going to take a hit, you're going to take a loss, but then, how you start back over. This is really an opportunity, like I say, to restructure yourself, to rebrand yourself and start over, man. It's one of the biggest assets that we have as long as we're healthy is the opportunity to start over.
And that's in all aspects in life.
Yeah, nobody took your hands away from you, hopefully. Nobody took your feet away from you, your legs. If you're still in good health and you're still standing with all of your working limbs, it's just really something to praise versus something to be depressed about, Yeah. And, there are resources out here that people should have taken advantage of. Hopefully they did. But if they didn't, there are going to be a lot of fish out here, man. A lot of fish out here looking for haircuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? The barbering industry has drastically changed from when I was growing up. And there's some good things about the change, and there's some bad things about the change. One thing that I know, and like I've been in Georgia about 14 years. And I've had all different types of barbers. I've had really good barbers. Matter of fact, the rule of thumb in Atlanta that I find the better the barber, the most unprofessional he will be. He or
Wow.
she will be. And it's like the more professional the barber is, he kind of whack. Or especially from my experience, just because the different texture that my hair is, it's real easy to jack it up.
Right.
But I will say,
so you said the more professional, the appearance, I mean, their skill set isn't as great.
From my experience. Like I went to this one barbershop, and I mean, I could schedule my appointment online. I could do everything. When you walked in, you got directly in the chair when it was when the clock struck 11 o'clock. If your appointment was 11 o'clock, you was in that chair and you was out. But you look at the mirror, you be like, well, you are whack. You need to try something else. But
right.
you know, when you go to the barber and they lay your stuff out, they treat you like you a fan. And it's like, no, this is an equal exchange. I'm not a fan of yours per se. I'm your client and I'm paying you for a service. But when a friend of mine gave me your information, because I was in need of a dope barber in a short amount of time, because my time is limited because I'm doing so much. And they sent me you and somebody else. Well, I tried this somebody else out first because I was like, all right, I'm gonna save this guy for last because he looks like his stuff is on point, and this dude kind of looks like he's on point. Let me try him and then go to him. So anyway, the experience I had at the first shop, like, it was a dude drunk in there just going off, talking crazy. Wow. And it's cool if you talk a certain way, but there was a woman in that shop with her children, and she's just waiting to get a haircut, and they was just all off the chain. This other dude had his hands in his crotch, and I'm like, there's a woman right there. And then some shops you go into, the music they're playing and all this other stuff. When I came to your shop, it was like I walked into 2080.
Wow.
Like, it gave me like the ambiance of it, the atmosphere, the look. And you know, as a person that's in the film industry at my capacity, I love lights and decor and all this other stuff. And I walked in there and I was able to schedule online. You got me in. You actually taught me about my beard. And I thought I knew a lot about my beard, but I learned even more by talking to you.
Wow.
So I want to know, from your experience and from your view, what are 3 things that are amazing about this new barber era? Because, and I'll preface this too, technology can come in and destroy a lot of jobs where people actually have to touch other people. You see it at the grocery store, you see it at the fast food, and it's more coming down the pipeline. But technology has not affected the barber beauty industry in a negative way from my perspective. Because it actually allows you guys to do more than just cut hair. Right. So tell me 3 things that you think that are amazing about the barber industry in 2020.
Well, to start with, you're absolutely right. Technology. That's what's amazing. The fact that we have resources at the touch of a button, you know, the fact that social media is at our exposure now to market our haircuts like a billboard. Without having to invest money into a website, you know. Matter of fact, people don't have to go to your website. If they can book from your page now, in my case, you can go to my social media page, you can book right from there. There's no purpose to go to my website. What is my website going to tell you that my Instagram page hasn't already showed you?
Right.
You know, and that's the power of social media and imagery in today's time. But then to take it a step further and have booking options on your social media page for people to go and effectively book an appointment, see all of your services that you render, you know, and the time frames that you render, and how you choose to do business, and, you know, to be able to book online and to get confirmations on top of your bookings, and then get reminders on top of that, and then even have the ability to reschedule and cancel straight from your email or your text message. You know, it just makes what we do, it makes us a lot more efficient. You know, it adds a dosage of professionalism to us. You know, you can be one of the most unprofessional people in the world. They wouldn't know that until they actually sit in your chair.
Right.
But prior to them sitting in your chair, all of the steps and the resources that we have, technology-wise, makes us look like somebody, you know. And so by the time they sit in your chair, the only thing you have to do now is lace the cut. Lace the cut. Yeah. You know, and I'll be honest with you, there are people out here that are average, right? But it's kind of like, you know, if you play baseball, we used to make this saying, we used to have this saying, you just got to make all the routine plays. You know, if you can make the routine plays, you don't have to be great. You know, get the job done. You know, if you can just field the ball and throw it to a base, that's a routine play. It's the same thing with cutting hair, man. You can be an average barber, but with great customer service, with time efficiency, and the technology and resources and availability for people to book you and patronize you, sometimes that means more to a client than someone who, like you said, is a beast, but yet they're always late. You can't really depend on whether they're going to be, you know, even at work in some cases. You know, I hear horror stories all the time where people showed up for their appointment and the barber wasn't even there, you know, and then, you know, they call the barber up and the barber says, I'm 10 minutes away, and they show up 45 minutes later. You know, it's just, there are all kind of stories like that, and it's real. You know, I've worked in shops like that, you know, or you book an appointment and online, you went through the process and you know, you the first client in the morning, your barber hadn't even woke up yet. And all the barbers in the shop are giving him a call and trying to wake up the barber to attend to his client. Well, guess what? His client is sitting there paying attention to everybody else that's working. You know, it's just a matter of time before he's going to jump ship. But, you know, some of the best barbers have the worst professional tactics, man. Their work ethic is just horrible. And then some of these average barbers have the best customer service. You know, their client retention rate is off the Richter scale, you know, and they know how to get the job done. And usually they make more money than the beast that's in the shop, that's never available, that's never there. You know, we still have barbers out here, man, that are exceptionally on a whole nother level, man. Their work is just ridiculous, man. But yet they still charge 15 and 20 bucks, you know, and don't get me wrong, that's their prerogative, but their skill set, they're so underexposed that they don't even realize that their skill set pays them 10 times what they're getting paid. You know, it's two different worlds. I think resources right now have put us in a position where all we have to do is get the job done, Jamelle. You know, all we have to do is make the routine play, and we will be successful. And that's the privilege of being a barber today. You know, now if you neglect to utilize these resources, you won't make it in this industry. You cannot barber today the way we started barbering when I got into it 30 years ago. You know, I've been licensed now. This is the 26th year that I've been licensed. You know, July will make 26 years for me. So you know, I've been in the game a long time, but the way I did business then, I can't operate like that now. Right. You know, I just can't. I'd be a fool to. You know, there's a reason why Kmart went out of business. Right. Yeah, there's a reason why Sears is on their way out of the game. They just couldn't make the right adjustments, you know. But then you look at the Chick-fil-A's, and they're still relevant, you know, even with a Popeyes competitive chicken sandwich hit, you know, they're still quote unquote relevant, even more relevant, building new stores, building new locations, you know. But then here's Zaxby's right behind them, right on their tail, you know, making all the adjustments to keep up. But then you look at McDonald's, and it's like, you know, McDonald's is just now trying to renovate all their locations to keep up with a Chick-fil-A and a Zaxby's, you know, which are charging way more than they do. And they're trying to keep up, you know. But my point is we'd be a fool not to take advantage of the resources that we have that afford us the opportunity to be relevant, man. That's business today. Yeah.
So I didn't realize how impactful the barber beauty industry was. So I said like when I was growing up, the barbers that I grew up going to, they were like the celebrities. They were the rappers that didn't rap. Like whenever the rappers would come in town for concerts, those popular barbers would always be in that circle. The popular barbers was just they was the shiznit, as for lack of a better phrase. And I didn't really get it until I went to college. And I noticed how, shout out to the Applewhite twins, if they listening, Colin Applewhite, one of my good friends in college, he was a barber. And I mean, this brother had money. It was like that girl on there said, "Oh, you got money." And, you know,
Yeah.
I was like, I remember looking in my bank account in college, like, I have $1 in my bank account. Like, I was equivalent, damn near equivalent to somebody that was in poverty or homeless, except I had room and board with the university.
Right.
And then after I graduated college, I understood that that is the play. Like, while you in high school, learn a trade. And being a barber, that is a trade. Like, you could be an 18-year-old child making a grown man's wage.
Yeah,
And if
that
you
was me.
decide to go to college, you still have a way to help pay your room and board, your college tuition. You can buy your food, you can buy your clothes. You won't be out here struggling like the majority of us that just go from high school straight to college. And I tried to tell my nephew this when he was in high school. He was a freshman. I was asking, I said, "So what do you want to do when you graduate high school?" He was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Well, I'm not going to be the one to pressure college on you, because if I could do it all over again, I would do some other things and not go to college for a year institution anyway." But what I will say is, because he went to a high school that offered that barbering program, and I was like, what I will say is, go and get your barbering license. That way, if you do decide to go to college, you can be self-sufficient as it pertains to finance. You don't have to go ask nobody for no money. You don't
Right.
have to go to a fast food chain and give all your time to retail, because retail, they try to own you for like pennies. You can actually have the freedom of having your own schedule. And I told him, I was like, listen, if you cut hair at X amount of dollars, you cut this many heads in an hour, this is how much money you have. So just imagine when you go ham and you go overtime, you do some other stuff, just how much money that you can have. And for
Yeah.
whatever reason, he didn't do that. But when I got out of college, I wanted to actually open up a barbershop, and I wanted to implement the tech, because I graduated with a bachelor's in information technology, and I currently work in technology. I've been working in technology since 2003, and I see a lot of shops that are technologically deprived, and it's based off of their lack of understanding of how that will create a certain experience for the client. You have a lot of technology in your shop, just by default, based off of what you have, especially compared to other shops. So with all that said, we're talking about the difference between barber, and you just mentioned you've been a barber for 26 years. What is it that inspired you to become a barber out of anything that you could have done? Why did you choose
Right.
to be a barber?
Well, I think my choice came early. I was 10 years old when I was sweeping the barbershop, shining shoes, straightening up the magazine rack, running errands for barbers. My mom used to drop me off at the barbershop every Saturday. So I would spend my Saturday at the barbershop. She was a politician. And her Saturday, she was always busy. So she would drop me off at the shop early, and I would be there all day long. And so from taking broken pair of clippers, one set of clippers, and taking it home and experimenting on my little brother and myself, that kind of intrigued me to say, I think I can do this. But the real reality is I was really influenced by dress slacks, a white smock, dress shoes, and Cash Money. You know, barbers pulling out wads of money. That was like the dope dealer for me. That was like the biggest influence in my neighborhood. And it was something about dress shoes, dress slacks with that white smock. It just demanded respect, like a doctor, man. They were like the ultimate professional for me at 10 years old. And so I made up my mind early, man. By the time I was 13, I was making money cutting hair. So that was way before a choice. Between 10 and 13, it was just something that I was discovering, you know. But at 13, I'm making money. At 16, I decided, you know, I'm going to go to barber school. Back then, you only had to have a 7th grade education to go to barber school. You know, you had to be 18 to get a license. So at 16, I went to barber school, man. I was going to barber school and high school at the same time. And at 17, 17 and a half, right before my 18th birthday, I made a decision, man, that I wasn't going back to school. This was right before my junior year. I mean, right before my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
I made a decision I wasn't going back to school, that I was going to own a shop.
Mm-hmm.
And just being young and really dumb, to be honest, but I was just that confident in what I had just accomplished through barber school. And I knew it was just a matter of months before I got my license, because I was turning 18. When I made that decision, man, the year I turned 18 years old and got my license, that same shop that I grew up in, the owners of that shop passed me the keys and told me to pay the power bill. So I inherited my first shop at 18 years old.
And
Yeah,
that's
bro.
all you had to do was pay the power bill?
That's it. Pay the power bill, man. Watch this. They had been in business for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Same location, same name on the building. It was named after the local high school. 50 years in business. They celebrated. Yeah, celebrated 50 years, man. Gave me the keys, told me to pay the power bill. I was 18 years old. The shop was full of barbers. They could have gave those keys to any one of those other barbers. They chose to give it to me, and they just saw promise in me, man. And so before I was even able to make a decision, I was already successfully doing it. And it made my decision a lot easier. But, I was exposed to barbers that had owned homes, barbers that had put kids through college, barbers that had nice cars. These were the professionals for me. That's what influenced me. I knew at an early age that I could make money no matter what anybody told me. Even my own mother told me that barbering was something you do on the side,
Right.
Yeah.
Get you a real job.
Yeah. Oh, bro. Can you imagine how I broke her heart when I told her I wasn't going back to school my senior year?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So, but again, being a barber, man, has just been, for me, has been the story of my life, bro. I've been there. I've done it. I've owned a chain of shops. I know what it's like to go out of business. I know what it's like to put your entire life savings into a dream shop, a vision that you can see, only to accomplish it from the ground up and get to the point where it's time to open up and you don't even know how you're gonna make money, and then to turn around 10 months later and have to close the doors. Been there and done it, man. This game has been good to me, the ups and the downs, and the fact that I'm still here right now and still relevant. That's just really a testament to how game changing this industry has been.
Yeah, and your ability to adapt. Now,
Yeah.
I will say from my perspective on the outside looking in, you're on your way to being a mogul, though. And I don't say that just loosely because you're my barber, but I mean the conversations that we've had, we've discussed ideas for a television show. You run a conference. You're part of the Georgia Barber Net. Like, you're doing more than just being a barber. And growing up, all I saw from the barbers, I saw some distinguished gentlemen who were barbers. They were pillars of the community. They you could have a safe place to have certain discussions there that you couldn't have at home, at school, or wherever that you socialize. But just looking at your model, you are really changing the game, and I'm sure that there's probably some other cats out there that's doing it. I haven't met that many barbers that are as business oriented as you are, but did you see this happening when you was younger? Or is this something that just came along as each?
Yeah, I definitely didn't see this, man, because again, we are what we've been exposed to, right?
Okay.
My idea of success was just owning a shop, and so when I inherited that first shop, I thought I had made it, only to realize that I had plateaued where I was at, and there was only so much money I was going to make doing working within the capacity that I was working, which is why I moved to Atlanta, because I felt like Atlanta was just such a bigger market. But coming here and opening up a chain of shops and going through the process of the ups and the downs of the industry really put me in a position to be a mentor to a lot of barbers here, which is why I started the Georgia Barbers Network. Through the Georgia Barbers Network opened up the door for seminars and conferences. But had it not been for social media, I would not have had the exposure to some of these barbers that I'm connected to now. And so again, technology has put us in a position to get familiar with one another. Because of technology, I am a mogul in my industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I am a mogul in my industry. I am a major influencer in my industry. It's a reason why, you know, I've gained over 2,000 followers in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that just didn't happen by mishap.
Right.
It's a reason for it. And so, you know, our network has gotten so much bigger, and you know, it put me in a position where now I can host a show. I host a major show every January. You know, I just completed my deck for next year's show. And don't get me wrong, my show is at a point where it's successfully making money.
Talk about the show. Break down the show.
Yeah. So MBBS is the name of it. MBBS stands for the National Barbers and Beauty Symposium. National Barbers and Beauty Symposium. This year we're adding a new entity, which is the New Age Business Conference. So it's MBBS plus New Age Business Conference. So it's a 2-day event. Sunday is an all industry event inside the exhibit hall, vendors, educational platforms, tons of brands. You know, you're looking at probably close to 2,000 attendees, all barbers and beauticians from all around the world, actually. But we have barbers from Amsterdam, London, Russia, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Did I say London? Canada. You know, all over the place, man. And so, you know, what I've been able to accomplish by way of social media, by way of the Georgia Barbers Network, and now the MBBS conference, it has put me on a small platform, you know, and it's growing. Again, that's me making an adjustment at you know, I'll be 44 years old in a few weeks, May 6th. That's me making an adjustment in my 40s, you know, to stay relevant in an industry where we have these young moguls, you know, that are out here with hundreds of thousands of followers, doing big things, you know, but those are just followers. You know, the amount of folks out here that are really making money, that are successful in this industry, we can really count them on one hand, you know, literally. And so I have kind of put myself in that arena. And I think that's what makes me influential at this point, because people, I think, they can feel the success of what I'm doing without looking at followers, without looking at likes, without looking at images. They can just feel it. You know when somebody's successful and when they're not. You can tell, you can feel that, you know. And right now, I think this is just my season for success, man. I went through that season of paying my dues, bro. That's the best way I can put it. I have paved the way to be where I'm at right now. So I would definitely classify myself as a mogul in my industry for sure. Yeah.
I would too. With the MBBS, some of the things that we spoke about in the shop, a lot of people can benefit from that aren't just barbers. And I mean, of course, you're talking to the barbers and beauty sector of this capitalistic society. But if an entrepreneur, somebody that's taken the initiative to do something and to create a certain lifestyle through their talents and stuff, they can take the blueprint of some of the stuff that me and you have spoken about and just take the barber out and then put whatever they're doing in.
Well, that's what the New Age Business Conference is all about.
Okay.
And so Sunday, that's what I meant to say, man. All that rambling I was doing, you know, Sunday is an all industry event, but Monday is opened up to the entire business world. So entrepreneurs, you know, business owners, CEOs, all the above. That is for them. Shaquille O'Neal, of course, is going to be one of our speakers this year. He's a business mogul out here, way beyond his basketball success. The man is a serial entrepreneur. Shaquille O'Neal. We also have people like Tristan Walker, which is the founder of Bevel. He's going to be one of our speakers this year. The founder of Squire, the technology that I use, which is a black tech firm, one of the biggest, if not the biggest black tech firm in the world. Squire Technologies, that's Dave Savant. He's going to be one of our speakers this year. Jay Majors, which is probably the biggest barber mogul in our industry, is also one of our speakers this year. And then the CEO and founder of Design Essentials is one of our speakers this year, man. So we have some real business moguls out here in the world, man, that not only will be able to appeal to us in the industry, but you know, those of you that are outside of the industry, that are just entrepreneurs, that have an item for sale, that have a shirt for sale, that have a clothing brand, a record label. You got to remember, man, a lot of us that have successfully made it through, made it in this industry, man, we've diversified ourselves so much outside of barbering, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so some of us are landlords. Some of us, you know, own property. Some of us have flipped homes. Some of us have owned multiple homes. Some of us own commercial buildings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're commercial landlords. You know, some of us have made investments, so many investments outside of barbering, that we can speak on a lot of different levels. And so the people that I'm putting in front of you on day two, really every entrepreneur, I don't care what industry you're in, you can learn from it. Management, CEOs, business owners, you can learn on day two. And it's an experiment for us. It's something that I came across coming out of my event this year. I just thought it was a necessity to add that, you know, because, you know, outside of doing hair, we're all businessmen and women,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in this industry, man. And so, and even the women, man, the women man, bro, the women have taken over. Like, they're killing the barber game right now. Yeah, they're killing it, man. And I'm so proud of these women, man. Man, listen, the barber industry has evolved. You know, it's way beyond gender. There is no man or woman. It's just barber.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and some of these women are killing some of these dudes out here. You know, it used to be a time where, man, you just couldn't trust a woman to cut your hair back in the day.
Man,
you know, you know what I'm saying? But now it's like, oh man, there's some beast out here. Yeah.
I remember growing up.
The business conference and the MBBS is for everybody, man. And yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I come to the one and if I can be your cameraman, I'll probably come into some other stuff too. But but I would love to come to the business one. And yes, I remember as a child going to the barber college, and I went to because see, a woman used to always cut my hair. It was my auntie. She used to cut my hair. She had me the new edition shag in the front, the shag in the front, and the shag in the back. And so I didn't have a problem with the gender roles cutting hair until I went to barber college in Indianapolis, and this woman messed my head up so bad, like I was bleeding and stuff. So it took a long time before I allowed another woman to cut my hair. And then one of my barbers that was here in Atlanta named Candace, she was a beast, man. She was amazing. And I was like, man, you did that. And then she moved away. But then the women that cut in your shop, like when I look at their cuts, I'm like, man, they cold-blooded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your whole team is cold-blooded. But since we was talking about the
appreciate that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, your shop gives me the neo soul vibes. Like you walk in, you just feel comfortable. You're like, how you doing? All right. I walk in, I speak to everybody, customer, barber, because it just feels like a really family-oriented environment. But so with all the sticks you got in the fire, what is the ultimate goal? Well, like, what is the end goal when you can be like, all right, my work is done?
Well, I probably will never say that.
Okay.
I don't think my work will ever be done. And the reason I say that is because I have 4 children and a granddaughter now. And so hopefully this work will carry on for generations. My goal right now is to establish a legacy good enough for my children to want to take over. I think in the Black community, man, one of the downfalls of our economic status is the fact that we don't have anyone to take over all of the labor that we put in for so many years building our businesses. If you're familiar with Think and Grow Rich, Black Choice by Dennis Kimbrough, not Napoleon Hill, right? Dennis Kimbrough, are you familiar with that book? No,
not from Napoleon Hill.
Well, Dennis Kimbrough is Think and Grow Rich, Black Choice. Napoleon Hill is just Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, that's what I'm familiar with. Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. So get Think and Grow Rich, Black Choice, man. Very inspiring book. Unfortunately, man, with all the success stories of of some of our Black entrepreneurs and business owners back in those days. And we're talking some of them early 1900s, you know, Black millionaires, man, back then, you know, is that none of their children took over all of the hard work of being successful in those days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas we know about the Rockefellers, you know, we know about the Vanderbilts. We know about, you know, some of these, the Rothschilds and all these different, you know, successful families. But when you think about Black families, man, there's only one, a couple of them. The Bronner brothers is one, and the Russell family.
Mm-hmm.
The Russell family. Those are the two families that I can say, you know, generationally, they have done well. What's interesting is I'm wondering if the Bronner brothers is going to be able to pass that on to their children. And I'm wondering what are they putting in place now for that. So for me, very similar, man. The only difference is I'm really training my kids psychologically right now, you know, to have the desire to want to take over what I have built successfully. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't make sense to not take it over, man. We try to teach our kids to go to school and be all they can be, but we never ever train them to take over what we have successfully built and to have pride in that. And you know, not that they should live to want to be something completely different, because at the end of the day, what do we go to school for? We go to school for survival. You know, we're working to survive. We're working, you know, to provide for our families, right? And so for me to teach my kids, man, to take over what's been providing for years and take it to another level, that should be an easy task, you know, an easy task. But that's something that we have to train our kids to want to do. Yeah. My youngest son right now, in his mind, feels like he's going to take my business to a whole nother level. He's high off of the idea that he can do what I built, that he can do it better. He's high off of that idea right now, you know, and that's an amazing thing. My oldest son, you know, is in the space that he feels like he can contribute to my business from a real estate standpoint. You know, he's trying to figure out how he can do what he does for it to contribute and benefit what I've already established. You know, that takes a lot of discussion and raising in that direction, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's, for me, that's my end game, man. My end game is to know that when it's time for me to go, my kids have done everything in their power, man, to train their kids to run what I've worked hard to establish. That's legacy. Yeah. That's legacy. I think it's beneficial for our community, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there was a documentary that I watched years ago on Netflix, and it was about the 1%. And the thing about the 1% that I didn't know until I watched it was it is each generation's responsibility to push that family's legacy 5 generations. So you got the father, he's pushing it 5, and then he has a son or daughter. Now it's imperative that they push it 5. And if he has multiple kids need to push it 5 generations. Like, that is the business model. And I remember at my current job that I work now, there was a guy intern, and he was talking about his father's business. Now, his father's business was like a trucking company, which for his father, that's a beautiful thing. But for him, he's like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, bro, your father has already established clientele. He's already established a network of income that could facilitate a lifestyle for years and years to come, not just for you, but your children. Now, if you don't necessarily like that, incorporate what you do like, because that will create an innovative space for that business, whatever it is. And you know, there's one thing that my father used to tell me. He would tell me that he wanted me to be greater than him. And so if there was anything that he had that he could have left for me to do, I would have jumped into that. And it just baffles me how the conversation between parents and child don't intersect with legacy. And hey, I've lived way longer than you've lived, and so whatever I've accomplished, I need you to carry that and build on that, and not just for me and not just for you, but the future. That's important.
Yeah, that's big. You know, I tell you, again, it takes from childhood, it takes really putting it into their mind what the idea of success is, and getting them to understand how realistic it is for them to be just as successful if they carry on what you built, you know, instead of pushing them in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my middle son has a junk removal business. You know, he's got a pickup truck and he's got a trailer and he removes junk. He's an entrepreneur, man. I'm super proud of him. Now
Mm-hmm.
he's a very unsuccessful entrepreneur right now
Mm-hmm.
because he's got to pay his dues.
Right.
But the fact that he's not depending on nobody else, man, this boy's work ethic is ridiculous. You
That's
know,
beautiful.
yeah, it's just a matter of time, and I can see the big picture. So it's fun for me to sit back and encourage him, uh, uh, and kind of school him and guide him on being successful in that business and allowing him to take the punches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because what it does is for every punch that he takes, he gains more trust in what I've already told him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they don't always do what you tell them.
Yeah.
They got to fall on their own sometimes. We can tell them, hey, boys, you know, don't go up there, you're gonna fall. But it's gonna take him falling to realize, dang, my daddy told me I was gonna fall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I'm taking pleasure right now in guiding him, but then also watching him make his own mistakes and learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it gains more trust in me down the line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can see that I'm successful as a business owner. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I still have a lot of flaws, and there's a whole lot of business that I'm still learning. But I've done enough for them to respect me as a businessman, you know. And it feels good that they can come to me and ask me specific questions pertaining, you know, legitimate business decisions. That's big for me, you know, because it's allowing me to prove, one, that I can be a major part in their success, but then two, it makes me feel good, man, that I have the opportunity to watch them make mistakes, because it instills trust, you know, in me down the line, man. And the more trust I can build, the easier it's going to be for me to get them to take over what it is that I've established. You know, if they respect you as a businessman, they're going to respect everything that's attached to you. Everything that's attached to you. Yeah.
And you know, that's one of the beautiful things about being a barber, because at a younger age, your mind is starting to develop as a should be anyway, as a businessman, not as a worker. And you know, when you get indoctrinated to being a worker, it is such a difficult task to undo that.
Right.
Because soon as you get in it, now you're dependent on institutions to pay you, and not what your abilities say that you are capable of doing. And so you lose a job, then you panic, like, oh, I gotta find another job. Then you find a job, then you but you're on pins and needles because you know that you can get fired at any given moment. And so this, I'm telling you, this was something that I try to convey to the younger people that are around me, whether they in my family or just in arm's distance. But the best teacher in life is life. If you don't listen to the things that I'm saying, and even though I have a 9-to-5, but I have multiple other things that I have going on too. So I man, it's something. Now, how old is your son that has this business?
That one, he'll be 22 in June.
22.
Yeah. Yeah. My oldest son owns 2 Airbnbs, man. He's 23. He'll be 23 in June. And he's the one that's he's boy 23 and got married, got a kid. You know, he's on the fast track, man. And as much as I would love to slow him down, man, he's grown.
He ain't looking back.
He ain't looking back, man, but he's making all the right moves too. And so it's, you know, I'm proud of him. He still works a full-time job as well. So he works a full-time job. He's a licensed realtor on top of that. You know, he does well, man. His wife, Georgia State graduate. She's in finances, man. They work good as a team together. She's got a really good job. She's on her way. She's on her solid career path as well. You know, yeah. So there's somebody I can trust. Even, you know, yeah, to take over. But then not only that, you know, even if there's some other business ventures that I feel like, you know, are really good that I've vetted and feel like that, you know, they can take advantage of or partner up with me on, I feel comfortable going to my oldest son and doing business with my own family. You know, that's big too. You know, that's big too. You know, because that's part of the legacy.
Yeah. So tell me this, speaking of your children, what would you tell the adolescent Sam getting into barber? What would you tell him to do different Not to say that you regret anything or anywhere you're currently at, because you're at a great place, but there could be some things that you know that may have somehow elevated you even higher. What would you tell the younger Sam? Hey, do this instead of that.
Patience, man. You know, sometimes we can be so impulsive with our visions and our dreams, man. You know, just because you can see something clearly doesn't mean you need to go 100 miles per hour, you know. And I think, you know, the younger Sam went 100 miles per hour with the things that he felt like he can accomplish without really taking the time to really think things through. You know, it's funny because money is never a factor as long as you know that your business can make money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you know your business is capable of making real money, getting the money to start up is not an issue at all. Because you know your business can make money makes it easier for you to pitch your business to someone else from a partnership standpoint, from an investor standpoint, or if you're just trying to sell yourself on a bank for a loan. You know, but the finances are always there if you know your business can make money.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I did in the past, man, which was a great learning curve for me, is the fact that I was so impulsive. I was going 100 miles per hour, man. It was all about building the vision, never really thinking about how the vision would make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I didn't think things through, I burned a lot of bridges with investors, you know, at the age of 20. You know, at the age of 20, 21, 22 years old. I'm cool with them now. But I burnt bridges. I burnt bridges with them then because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. That's just a reality, man. Didn't know what I was doing. I had the right idea, but just didn't really know how to accomplish it. You know, being young, no guidance. And so if I can do it all over again, man, I wish I could have been a little bit more patient, you know, to see things through, to put together the management systems for success. You know, those are the areas, man, that I wish I could concentrate on. Things that I am doing now. So, you know, we ask ourselves if I can do it all over again. I'm doing it all over again now.
Gotcha.
You know, which is why things are working. You know, my conference. You know, I went into my conference day one knowing that this was going to be a 5-year plan for success. I knew I wasn't going to make any money year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Year 5 is the year that I'm expecting to make money. However, because I went into it with that mind frame, I'm going into year 4. I'm a year ahead of schedule. Year 4, I will profit. You know, I've done all the necessary things within the first 3 years, branding wise and building relationships, to where now going into year 4, everything that I've established in year 1, 2, and 3 is about to pay off. You know, and so year 5 will be my second year in the green, you know, or in the black, as we would say. It would be my second year versus, you know, being my first year. So it's everything compounds, but I've saw it through. You know, I've been able to sit back, analyze what I've done wrong every year, put the plan in action to experiment on what I feel like is going to make it better, do my research on why I feel like it's going to be better, put together my marketing deck and my pitch deck to make sure that I can sell myself on it first before I introduce it to someone else, you know, which in my case, I have a fully sponsored show now, you know, and it takes a lot of work branding wise to put yourself in that position, but patience. It takes patience to see something through for 5 years.
Oh yeah.
You know, to have to invest all of your own money, you know, only to lose significantly. I'm talking walking out of year 1, you know, $21,000 in debt. Walking out of year 2, $27,000 in debt. Walking out of year 3 this year, I'm gaining ground. I was only $12,000 in debt. You know, and year 3, my show was double the cost of year 2. And I only walked away with $12,000 in debt. So the show is successfully making money. I'm just not profiting yet. And so year 4, if I walked away with $12,000 this year and it wasn't fully sponsored, year 4 is going to be fully sponsored, which means that every dime made now in year 4, guess what? All that's in the black now. All that's profit. Yeah. And so what took me struggling for the first 3 years is now going to put me in the, you know, between $50,000 and $100,000 in profit in year 4.
Mm-hmm.
which makes up the difference for everything I lost in year 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
You know, so that goes to this saying, right? It's so cliche to say if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is just because it doesn't make money now does
Mm-hmm.
not mean that it doesn't make sense. And that's discipline.
Mm-hmm.
To have that mind frame going into a business, that takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of patience to activate that discipline, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so just because it doesn't make money now does not mean that it's not going to make sense. It
Mm-hmm.
will make sense eventually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it takes a lot of foundational work to get it there, you know. And so generating money and generating profits, two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Two different things. I've been generating money with that particular entity from day one, just
Mm-hmm.
haven't profited. And so year 4 is going to be the year of profit for me, you know, 2021. Yeah, so if I can do it all over again without me rambling on, bro, because I can talk.
Nah, you good.
You know, that is what I would do different, man. And thank God that I'm still living, I'm still young, and I have the resources and the ability to start over, bro. And that's why I said at the beginning of this show, you know, when you asked me about what I can tell young barbers, starting over is the biggest asset that we have.
Yeah.
You know, being able to start over. Forget about if I can do it all over again, because I can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can. We have the power to start over, man. And so right now, success comes within the power and the mind frame to say, you know what? Okay, it didn't work. Let's do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's do it
Maybe
again.
tweak something here and there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The adjustments we talked about,
Yeah.
making all the proper adjustments, man, to stay relevant.
Yeah.
You know, relevancy pays off.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all you're trying to do is keep up, you know, and if you can keep up and create your own lane at the same time, now you value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, when we talking about the patient aspect, being patient, you know, patience come when you are confident.
Mm-hmm.
And so by learning as much as you can about the industry or whatever topic that you need to participate in, the more you learn, the more patience that you can you can use. So
Mm-hmm.
if you understand the business that you know, you're gonna struggle the first year, you're gonna struggle the second year, but I know it's gonna work, and you start to see that and come into fruition, you start to manifest that based off of your works and your strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and execution, and you like, all right, I got this, and that's what you provide with these conferences. Like, you know, when I was in stand-up comedy, there was a lot of comics that didn't feel that they needed to read books. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
really need to study that industry. They didn't need to learn the business because they were naturally funny. And I get what you're saying when you do that, but I'm 41. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's somebody that's 80 that has lived and done exactly what I wanted to do. They can tell me something that I don't know. So it would behoove me to study and learn from these men and women that have accomplished certain feats of success
Right.
they have. And so that's beautiful that you're providing this conference for that to be a thing. Now, how can the audience members and the listeners, how can they support this movement if they're not in the barber and beauty industry?
Yeah. So if the New Age Business Conference is the conference they want to be exposed to. So right now we're developing a one page, but all the information about that conference is intertwined with the MBBS.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're creating a one page for the conference, but if they go to thenbbs.com,
Mm-hmm.
thenbbs.com, THENBBS.com, that'll have all the information about both conferences, which are intertwined in one. But they can also follow me. Follow me on Instagram at Provado by Sam. That's PRIVADO BYSG. Provado. I'm sorry, BYSAM. Provado by Sam. That's my Instagram tag. That's also my Facebook as well. Provado by Samuel Glickman is what that stands for. Provado is Latin for private. So I'm all about private grooming. The name of my company is the Provado Group, the private group. And so that's pretty much it, man. That's how they can find me. Instagram, I pretty much live on there. I'm not a big Facebook guy, although I need to work it. Instagram has just been really, you know, the page for me. Yep. Provided by Sam. There it is.
Provided by Sam.
Yep.
Now I want to put this. I want to put this other one. What was the website?
TheNBBS.com.
NBBS.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Very diverse event. Very diverse event.
Yeah, I saw you showed me the promo from it, man. It looked really
Mm-hmm.
it looked really interesting. Like it didn't look boring. Of course it was, you know, we gonna jazz stuff up as far
Right.
as how we move and stuff. So it really looked really intriguing and inviting. So the last we're almost at the end, but I wanted to bring this back up. Me and you spoke about this briefly around the time when I first started getting my haircut by you. But we spoke about an idea about a TV show. That show is dope, and I know eventually that you're gonna have the capacity to reach over and start dealing with that.
Doing. Yeah.
How where would you see, what do you see, how do you see that manifesting itself? Because as of right now, the concept that you came up with, nobody's doing that right now.
Right. To be honest with you, man, there have been so many concepts thrown at me away from what I felt like would work on my own, which is what me and you discussed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a dope concept. I think it is a dope concept. But it goes back to what I was explaining to you earlier about patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you see it doesn't mean that the timing is right now. And so I'm learning, man, that timing plays a big part in being inspired to do something. If you're not inspired, it's going to flop.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to flop. And when you're trying to do too much and establish too much at one time, you know, very rarely will one thing stand out and be successful.
Mm-hmm.
What usually happens is that everything you're doing usually flattens out, and you do everything kind of half-ass. Excuse my language.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's, you there?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You good.
Somebody just called me. I'm sorry. But yeah, you kind of do things kind of half-ass, man. And so my thing is I'm not one track, but I like to limit the amount of things that I do at one time,
Mm-hmm.
because it takes me off course. However, I did shoot a show with Create TV. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Mm-mm.
But I have 6 episodes with Create TV. It's just simple. It's just me interviewing some of my elite celebrity clients like Lecrae, like Usher, like Q Parker, like Jamal Bryant, the preacher, Dewey Smith, the preacher, Jonathan McReynolds, and I got so many more that I'm going to interview. But it's really just about organic conversations that you won't hear these individuals speak about anywhere else. You know, in other words, let's just say the preacher, for instance, Jamal Bryant. We know Jamal Bryant for being a preacher. We also know him for being controversial. But outside of that, you know, what are some of his real organic conversations look like? What do they sound like? And so that's what you'll get from Create TV in the show that I got right now. I think it's Cuts and Convo is the name of the show.
Cuts and Convo. Okay.
Cuts and Convo, yeah. So that's on Create TV. It's a subscriber-based network, meaning that you got to subscribe in order to watch things that, you know, watch the things that are on there. We actually get paid per prescription. I'm sorry,
so what's the
per
website
subscriber.
for that?
I think it's an app actually.
Okay.
Yep, I think that, well, they got a site too, but the app is Create TV, which is CRE, the number 8, and then TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get on the screen too.
Yeah, I think that's their website as well. I'm just familiar with the app.
Okay.
So yeah, real clean. You know, they trying to take to another level. It's not like a YouTube where anybody can put content on there. They have to choose you. More like a Netflix. So their goal is to bring content to their network, and they pay for all the video production and everything.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Pretty cool. Yep.
So we're coming to the end. Is there anything that you would want any listener to know that's looking to acquire a new barber, or anything,
Well,
anything.
yeah, I would say this. Forget about the barbering game, right? Because I really have a big heart for organic startups. All right. If I can inspire somebody, I mean, really, really inspire somebody, man, I would say definitely don't be afraid to start over. I mentioned it a few times on here. Starting over is one of the biggest assets that we have, especially if we're healthy enough to do it, right? And so if you're patient enough to see something through on paper, and if you can convince yourself on paper that what it is that you see can actually work, then it's worth you trying to do it. But you have to take all the right steps, and taking the right steps takes a lot of discipline and a lot of patience, man. You know, you cannot afford to be impulsive moving forward in this in this day and age. You have to be extremely intentional, extremely intentional, man. And so everything adds up. You know, you cannot open up a business in this day and age and say, I don't believe in social media. It doesn't work.
Right.
Okay. You can't be so caught up in socializing all the time that you forget about branding. And so you're not opening up a social media page to be social. You're opening up a social media page because it's an extension of your brand. That's imagery. That's what presents you. You know, and so if you can just take the time to be extremely intentional, be patient and disciplined, and seeing your vision through on paper and convincing yourself, the money will not be an issue. The money will not be an issue. The second thing I would say is discover what kind of entrepreneur you are. Everybody's not designed to build, establish, and sustain. Some people, they can't build anything. They're just really good at buying you out and sustaining your business, or even making it better. You know, that's Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett doesn't build or establish anything. Warren Buffett specializes in buying companies out that are 99.9% successful. That 0.01%, that's his. That's what he likes to use to build and sustain. You know, but then you got people like LeVan Hawkins, who started Checkers, who will tell you in a heartbeat that he's not built to sustain businesses. He's only built to establish it and move on. So he's one of those. He's a visionary. He's the type of entrepreneur where he's just really good at building something from the ground up, getting it established. But once it's established, it's time for him to sell it. That's the way he's going to be successful. If he tries to sustain that, then he's going to end up driving it to the ground. You know, and so it puts all the hard work that he put in play, and it drives it to the ground. It becomes pointless. You know, I told you about the business that I sold in 10 months. You know, had I known what I know now, I would have built that to sell it, because I had no idea on how I was going to run it. So I should have built it to sell it, because it was a beautiful situation, you know, but I drove it to the ground in 10 months because I didn't have a management system in place, you know. And so I've spent the last 20 years really discovering what kind of entrepreneur I am. And so now I move cautiously. I'm super intentional about my moves, but I'm not impulsive anymore. You know, I'm not impulsive, man. I'm going to take my time on everything, you know, and the things that I think I need to make a move on now, I even second guess those, you know. And so everything that I do, man, it comes by way of steps, it comes by way of a process. So anyway, if I can inspire anybody, man, you know, definitely go by that course of action right there. Definitely go by that course of action.
Well, Sam, you've definitely inspired me, not just in this interview, but just in our constant interactions in the chair. And I want to thank you for your time today, and all the jewels that you have dropped. And I want anybody that is under the sound of my voice to make sure you follow Samuel Glickman. That's Bravado underscore, what's that? Bravado underscore by underscore Sam.
Yep.
Hey, y'all make sure y'all go and follow this brother, man. He's a wonderful barber too. If you need your beard reconstructed, reconstruction,
yeah,
he's the man for you. Hey, Sam, that's a beautiful. This is our time when we signing out, and we want to thank everybody for joining. Make sure you tune into the podcast next time, and have a good night.
Yeah. All right, bro.
All right, peace, Sam. The audacity